when we talk about posture and what poor posture is, Pilates is all about improving your posture. So if I can have, does someone want to volunteer for me? I just need a volunteer. Thank you very much. And you're Liz. So this is Liz. So Liz is a very, very welcome volunteer. Thank you very much. Now Liz, I want you to show me poor posture. So can you show me? That's perfect. So if you turn sideways, Liz. So this is Liz's poor posture. Now you can see that Liz's back is curved here, so that's not good for her back. You can stay there just for a minute if you're all right to. So from there, her back is very curved, but also she's looking down at the floor, isn't she? So Liz, if I can ask you to look at the wall, can you see what happens to her neck? And that's not comfortable on your neck, is it? So Liz, if you show me your lovely posture, which you've got good posture actually, Liz. So Liz has got lovely posture, and so you can see that she's nice and upright now. So if she's, thank you very much, that's lovely, thank you very much. Oh, round of applause for Liz, well done, well done. Now, when Liz had a poor posture, her shoulders were forward, and often, because Liz has got good posture, what she didn't go into was what I call a saggy back, where the back drops. Now, if your back drops, can you see, not only have I got rounded shoulders, but now my rib cage has dropped. So my rib cage has dropped down. Yeah, please come further round if you want to see a bit better, or just stand up every now and again. So if you're in that position, now if I try and walk in that position, can you see that's very difficult because my hip flexors are tight at the front of my hip, my back, my pelvis won't move properly. So if I stand upright and walk, then I'm using my arms and I'm standing nice and upright and my hip is able to move correctly. My neck and head are looking straight ahead. So when we talk about good posture, we think about sitting up. Now I'm going to ask you to think about your posture the whole way through this session today. So I would like you in your chair just to think about that upper body. So I want you to open up through your chest. So open up through your chest. If you can, put both feet on the floor because then you'll be then your hips won't be twisted. And you just relax your arms down by your side. So just relax your arms down by your side and put one hand on your tummy. Now I know you just had your lunch, but I want you to pop your hand on your tummy and I want you to just gently pull that muscle in. So gently pull your tummy in just a tiny bit. So it moves about this much. Can you feel that? Pull in a weeny bit. I know you just had your dinner, so don't do it too much. And then just let it relax. Let it relax. Now gently pull that muscle in again. Now that muscle is a really important muscle. It wraps around and connects via a connective tissue called the thoracolumbar fascia that connects onto the spine. If that's a little bit tighter, and hold you in position, it will hold you better. So if you're sitting and you're upright, the spine, we've got a natural curve through the spine. So we've got a little curve through the back here. And sometimes when you sit, and if this is you at home, I want you to think about this when you sit on your couch next. If your back goes into this position when you're sitting, then that back is out of alignment. There's my natural position. So when you're sitting in your chair, if sitting up is actually quite hard for you to do, then just try it every now and again. Throughout your day, when you're sitting, think, okay, I'm going to remember what to do. I'm going to just sit upright. So just while you're sitting throughout this whole thing, I just wanted to see if you can continue to sit upright, because then the extensors through the spine are going to be lovely and in line. They're going to be long. Your neck's going to be long and your chest is going to be open. And one wonderful thing that's going to happen is the food that you've just eaten, you are going to digest it better. Because what's happened is your rib cage has opened up. If I'm in this position, my rib cage is sitting down more on my hips. If I open up through my chest, it allows my digestive system to work much better. So sitting up tall, particularly after you've eaten, is really good for us. Now, I'm just going to, from here, let me see if my clicker's working. Let's see if it works. Let's move on to, might not be, There we go. So a little bit about myself. So my name's Jane Mackenzie. You might have seen that on something that was sent round to you that I'm doing a talk today. I've lived in Hythe, and I live in Folkestone at the moment. I've lived in this area pretty much all my life, mostly. I've lived abroad a little bit in between. I've been teaching Pilates for the last 8 years. I've been working in the sports and fitness industry for the last 32 years. So that's quite a long time that I've been working with lots of people with lots of different conditions. So what I want to do today is to try and enthuse you to move more. If you want to come along to Pilates, then that's brilliant. But the main thing I want to do is to get you to think about how your body moves and can you possibly move a little bit more. My background, as I said, is I come from a sports and fitness background. I came to Pilates 8 years ago. I have friends of mine that I worked with. I used to teach at South Kent College. Some of you may remember that from way back in Folkestone. I worked as a lecturer there, teaching on the sports and fitness courses for many years. And I decided to start teaching Pilates. My friends that I used to work with, they said, "Oh, Jane, Pilates is wonderful. You should do it." And so I did my Pilates training. And I started up classes, so I teach classes in Folkestone, Hythe and Sellinge. And I do one-to-one classes as well, and I teach online. And when I started doing Pilates, I thought, well, fitness is great, but what can Pilates do for people that is so much better than all the other sports? I've taught step. Some of you may, I don't know if any of you have ever recognise me from many moons ago teaching aqua aerobics. I've taught step, I've taught aqua aerobics, I've taught many, many different types of exercise. But I've seen phenomenal changes in people that do Pilates. And that is why I'm so passionate of sharing the benefits of that for people when they come to my classes. Over those last 8 years, I haven't just done my basic Pilates training, I've also trained up to level 4 in teaching long-term conditions, back healthcare, and also in Pilates. So I'm actually trained as a Pilates therapist. So I've developed my training so I have a good understanding of how the body works, of how we need to work effectively, and also working with lots of different conditions. So why Pilates is beneficial for everyday life? Any ideas why it's beneficial for you? I've given you a couple of ideas already, but why do you think it's beneficial? Yes, it strengthens the muscles, yes. Was someone else going to say something?
I would say that it helps you to keep going longer than you might have done.
Yes, absolutely. That is spot on. I would say that Pilates means that you can enjoy a healthier life for longer. So therefore your body is able to move more freely for longer. And we all want to live. As we get older, when we were younger we wanted to do all sorts of things. So we didn't think about getting older, did we? We didn't even think it was going to happen. And lo and behold, it has. And so now we're a little bit older and we think, actually, I want to be able to do the activities that I normally do. And enjoy the activities. So spending time with your grandchildren, spending time with your friends, going out for a walk. Even down to things like putting your shoes on, putting your socks on, being able to put your jumper on, being able to put your arm in your jacket. They're all beneficial things that if you do Pilates, it helps to keep the body moving and helps to get you into that ability to be able to live longer and enjoy life. Because that's what we want to do, is just enjoy life as we get older. So it helps improve, so I've mentioned some of those things, like if you like gardening, so if you like your gardening, then we've got our gardening there, so we can see gardening. Any activity you take part in, including sports. So some of you might enjoy your sports, so it enables you to do those sports. Now, why that enables you to do those sports is because it strengthens the core muscles. It makes the core muscles stronger so you are able to hold yourself and do those particular activities. There's lots in recent years, there's Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's one athlete or one person that I know that is very keen on doing Pilates. There's lots of, I know there's some of the tennis players now are doing Pilates to enhance what they do as their activity, because they know it's so beneficial. So you might not be able to see that, so again, I'll read that. It improves your posture, mobility and flexibility, which we talked about a little bit earlier. Increases muscle balance and strength. Now, as we get older, we lose 3% of muscle mass. So that means that when you were in your 20s and 30s, the amount of muscle that you had on your body was more than possibly it is now. Now I say possibly because if you are doing exercise regularly and if you are doing anything that adds resistance to the body, you can maintain your muscle mass. So going out for a walk is great because it keeps the strength and a little bit of muscle mass on the legs. But what about the upper body? What about your back? What about your head, your neck? So if we're not using and doing strength work for all those other areas, you will start to lose the muscle mass. And what that means is the muscles literally disappear. You start to get less muscle on the body. And you might have felt that. And how we often feel that, unless you have a test where it tells you how much muscle mass, how much lean body tissue you got, compared with body fat, compared with your other tissue, then you can often, so if you think, actually, I used to feel like I had more muscle. When I got hold of my arm, there was a muscle there, and it isn't there so much now. So when we do Pilates, we do standing work and we do floor work, or if someone can't go onto the floor, then they'll do work in a chair. But all of us do resistance work for the upper and lower body, whilst thinking about the bit in the middle, which is your core muscles. Your core muscles are made up, we call it the core cylinder. So you've got the top of the core cylinder is the diaphragm. The bottom of the core cylinder is your pelvic floor. Now, as ladies, we're aware that the pelvic floor is such an important muscle because we need it to keep us continent, but also it helps to hold all those vital organs in position. And we want the pelvic floor to work effectively. So when we're in class, we work the pelvic floor, but I just don't work and talk to people about being in class and doing it. I say, yeah, do your pelvic floor contractions whenever you can. So if you're driving along and you're at the bus, or sort of if you're on the bus or if you're driving, then do your pelvic floor contractions when you get to a traffic light. And then you are more likely to keep that muscle strong. It's a muscle, or a group of muscles, because the pelvic floor is made up of a group of muscles, so we need that strong. So we've got the diaphragm on the top, the pelvic floor on the bottom. Around the middle, we've got your rectus abdominis, that's your six-pack. We've all heard about your six-pack, and often us ladies, we just cover it up a little bit. We cover it up a weeny bit because we have slightly more body fat than men, more often than not. So we've also got the obliques that wrap around through here. You've got down through the back, you've got the multifidus on the spine, and you've got lots of other muscles, so the erector spina, lots of other muscles that help to make up that core cylinder. If that core cylinder is effective, then you're going to be more upright and you're going to be able to hold yourself in a much better position. So if we've got improved core strength and back health. Now back health, funnily enough, because I was coming along doing this talk today, I thought, I've got an idea of what people, why we do Pilates. But I said to my class last night, I said, why do you come along to my class? And actually, luckily, some of them said, I come along because you're teaching it, Jane. I went, hurrah! So that was nice to hear. But look, one of my ladies, she said, I come along because it keeps my back healthy. And how many of you have had a back problem? Lots of you. And if you've had a back problem, we know how painful that is, or you might know of a relative, friend, or someone you know that's had back pain. It is excruciating. It's the worst pain, so we don't want to have that. And doing Pilates will help with back health. Lots of the exercises I give different positions to working, and I give different ways of working the body so that it supports and protects the back whilst exercising. And I encourage people to think about how they're doing things, not only in class, but also externally of class. So I will be talking to people about how how they're moving, if they're doing gardening, if they're doing those other activities, how are they doing that? Are they standing nice and tall? Are they looking straight ahead? Are their knees soft? Or are they standing on one leg? So all of those things are really important, not only in class, but also in everyday life. Are we still sitting upright? Or have we gone back like this? Are you still sitting in that upright position? You don't have to. If your back doesn't like it, then obviously relax. Improve, now I've got, just at the bottom, you might not be able to see that. Improve well-being, mindfulness, and stress reduction. Now, like no other type of exercise that I've taught, Pilates gets you to focus. Joseph Pilates was an amazing man. He developed Pilates, and it started off as his method was called contrology initially. And contrology, if you want to read his book, it's fascinating. Contrology was all about, he developed these 34 different exercises that you could do to improve your core strength, to improve your balance, to improve your posture. So he knew that he wanted to do that for people because he did it for himself. And so with Pilates, Joseph Pilates came up with 6 principles of Pilates. So we have control, concentration, centering. Centering means your head's on top of your shoulders, shoulders are over your hips, hips are over your feet. We've got precision of how you move, breath, how we breathe, and flow. So how the body works as we move. Also, now we know in recent years, probably about the last 10, 15 years, when osteopaths, physios, and lots of clinicians, doctors, all looked at Pilates and said, actually, that's really beneficial. Let's have a look at that. They all started to look at that, and now we've got physios and lots of clinicians that are training to become physio instructors, because they know that it's so beneficial for us as we get older. And the 2 extra principles of Pilates are coordination and balance. Coordination and balance, if we've got coordination and balance, how's that going to help us as we get older? What's it going to do for us? Yes, fall prevention. And I've got that a little bit later on a slide, on one of the slides. Fall prevention, we don't want to fall. And so what we do in class, we'll do exercises, and I'll get you to do a little exercise in a minute if you wish. You don't have to, it's optional. But we do lots of different exercises to help to improve our posture, improve our balance, improve our coordination, and just get us aware of how we move. So why exercise and attend Pilates? So I think we've pretty much, let's have a look to see if we've covered these. Actually, it can burn up calories. Like any exercise, doing Pilates, people think, oh, if I'm moving slowly, will I be burning up energy? I've got gentlemen that come along to my classes, and they are really surprised how hot they get when they're doing the class. You won't get out of breath, but you will get hot because you're using so many muscles. Now, if I got you to stand up and to do to do a knee lift, which we might have a go at in a minute, we'll see, to do a knee lift or to do a squat and come into a squat. When I do that movement, I've got big muscle groups working. But I'm not just thinking about the legs, I'm thinking about holding the muscles in the middle as well. And as soon as those big muscles work, then you start to burn up some energy. Reduced risk of osteoporosis. I get lots of people, both men and women, come along to me that either have osteoporosis or want to prevent osteoporosis. Some of you in the room, I'm sure, will have osteoporosis, or you may not know you've got osteoporosis, but you do. If you're not sure what that is, it's basically where the bones start to decrease in their density. So they become less dense and they're more likely to break. And there's different levels of osteoporosis. So you've got osteopenia, which is the initial part of osteoporosis, then osteoporosis. And we can, by doing exercise and doing bone loading work and doing exercises that strengthen the muscles, also it will strengthen the bones, which is a win, isn't it? The other week, I always say to people, doing Pilates won't guarantee you won't fall, but what it will do is if you do have a fall, hopefully your bones will be strong enough so that then you won't break anything. And I can give you an example. Personally, the other day, I haven't fallen over. I can't remember the last time I fell over. But I stepped, we've got decking outside our back door. And I stepped outside on my decking and it was icy. It was just literally like ice. And I slipped on it and I just landed on my hip and put my hand down. And I was fine. Because my bones are strong and my muscles are strong. Yeah, it jarred my shoulder a tiny bit. But I have so many times someone comes to class. I've got a lady that I do one-to-ones with, and she said to me, Jane, she said, I was up in London and I was on a platform. We were just about to get on a train, and it was everyone was jostling around. And she said, and I nearly fell over. But she said, I didn't because I'm used to doing that. I'm used to taking the leg out to the side. I'm used to moving my leg and being able to move around and be aware of if I stand on one leg, then I'm going to be okay. I can just put the foot down and then I'm stable. So your reaction time, everything that happens in your body when you exercise is neural. So your brain has to tell your muscles to work. So when it tells the muscles to work, then it happens quickly. But as our brain starts to slow down as we get older, if we don't use it, you know that saying, use it or lose it? It is a fact. It is use it or lose it. We need to use the brain. We know that for dementia, for Parkinson's, for Alzheimer's. We know we need to use the brain. But we need to link that up with the body. So we need the brain and physically and mentally. So when I come down, when I talk about it being well-being and the whole picture, it's everything. So the brain sends the impulses to the muscles. If we do that, if it happens quickly, every time your muscle tells your brain rather tells your muscles to work, the pathway from the brain down to the muscle through the nervous system starts to speed up. If we don't do that, then it starts to slow down. And I'm sure all of you, at some point, we've all done it, haven't we? We go, oh yeah, I've been upstairs and I can't remember what I was going up for. Or you do something, you go, oh, I used to be able to do this really easily. And now I'm struggling with doing it. Every time we challenge what we do, the brain starts to work and the muscles get stronger and the body becomes better at what it does. So we talked about the osteoporosis, can help to reduce stage 2 diabetes, heart disease and stroke. So any exercise is going to do that, but obviously we've had all those other benefits of doing Pilates. It can help improve your strength and flexibility. So I've already talked about that. No falls, no fractures. I love that saying. That's such a wonderful saying because it's so true. If you fall over, you potentially could hurt yourself. And we don't want that. We want to be able to move around. So when I'm teaching in class and when I do my one-to-ones with people and when I'm doing rehab work with someone that's getting over either a hip replacement, knee replacement, any conditions that they need to come to me for, I would do mobility work with them and I'll do stability work and get them moving freely. We want to move freely before we can then do some strength work. I've put on, keep clicking the wrong clicky bit. Pilates attracts all types of people. Within Pilates, it's the only form of exercise I've ever taught where I get men, women, couples. I've had one class where I had 3 generations of the same family in my class. I had the grandma, I had the mother, and the grandchild. So I had 3 generations in one class. And anyone can take part in Pilates. It's not ability-based, it's whether you want to do it or not. So anyone can do it. I have some people do it in a chair. I have some people that can go onto the floor, but they can't lie on their back for whatever reason. I've got some people that have got back conditions that maybe they can't do certain exercises. So anyone can take part in Pilates. The one thing that I would say is you need to make sure that Pilates instructor has the skills and qualifications and understanding of how to work with you with your particular condition. That's the only thing that I would say. If you don't come to me, then check that. And that's any class that you go to. You are going to sleep better. So sleeping, we like sleeping, don't we? How do we feel when we can't sleep? Do we feel a bit grumpy? Does it make you can't think properly? It's upsetting, isn't it, when you can't sleep properly? So to do exercise will mean that you can sleep properly. is we're going to do a little bit of Pilates. Now you can choose to do this standing or you can do it sitting. It's totally up to you. So I would like you to just, those that feel comfortable, now before you stand up I'm going to just borrow a chair. Actually I've put my high heels on today. I'm not used to wearing high heels, but I thought as I'm coming to the Hotel Imperial I will. Now when we sit down in a chair, I want you to if this is the only thing that you remember from today, I want you to remember it. When you sit down in a chair, I want you to think about using your legs and support the back when you sit down. So when we sit down, we hinge at the hip, so you push your bottom towards the back of the chair. Then you can put your hands and rest them on your legs, but ideally to pop them on your thighs. And then you push your bottom back and you sit yourself down. Going down isn't a problem. Coming back up might be a little bit harder to work the legs. So what we do, there's a couple of tips that will help you. You move yourself towards the front 2/3 of the chair. Now tuck your feet under, and I've done training with people, I've done chair-based training as well. So that's another thing that I do. Now you tuck your feet under slightly. Now as I rock forward, now my shoulders, can you see that, over my feet? Rather than me trying to get up from here. It's like I can't get up very well from there. If I tuck my feet under slightly, then I rock my shoulders forward, so I'm bringing my shoulders over my midline. Then I pull the tummy in, take a breath in, breathe out, and stand up. So those of you that are standing up, if you're going to stand up, can you try that? So I'll do it with you again, so we'll go through it again. So sit yourself to the front. Let me get some water, sorry. It's quite warm in here, my throat's drying up. So you sit yourself to the front 2/3 of the chair. If you've got up already, that's marvellous. Sit yourself to the front 2/3 of the chair, rock your shoulders forward, and see if you can push yourself up without using chair. That was very good. Super. So you don't have to get up if you don't want to. If you want to stay sitting, please do. So if you've got up and you thought, I don't want to be standing up now, then please sit yourself down if you want to. Now, what we're going to do is, I want you to walk round behind your chair, because we're going to use the chair just for a little bit of support. If you wish, if you're sitting on your chair, stay sitting. So we're going to think about your posture. So I want you to put one hand on the chair, and then from that position, we're just going to walk through the feet. So I just want you to walk through your feet. Now I'm going to take my boots off so that I can show you what my feet are doing. I never spend long in a pair of high heels. Is anyone else like that? So from there you lift, now as I do this, I lift my heel up and then I lift the other heel. Now I'll turn back away from you so that you can see my hips. Now my hips, as I change feet, I'm pulling the tummy in, my pelvis doesn't move. So can you see the difference? That's wiggling. If I hold and now I transfer the weight to this leg and then transfer the weight to the other leg. So now I start to stabilise. So just relax the both feet down now. Now let's think about your posture. If you can, take your hand away from the chair if you're comfortable to do so. If you're sitting in the chair, sit the back up nice and tall. So I'm going to work with those standing and those sitting. If we're sitting from here, we're just going to keep the back up nice and tall and move to the front 2/3 of the chair. Because we're going to do a little bit of work through the legs. We're going to see how it feels to balance on one leg. Now if you think, Jane, I can't remember the last time I did that, then I want you to put one hand on your chair. So you'll put your hand on your chair. We're going to just gently lift one heel off the floor, same as you've just done. So lift the heel off the floor and see if you can come onto your big toe. Now as you do that, normally I've got leggings on, but I put my dress on. From here, make sure this knee doesn't roll in. So the leg you're standing on, be aware of the weight across the front of the foot, down the outside of the foot and on the heel. Are your toes gripping? Can you wiggle your toes? So it's the same if you're sitting. Now let's try it with the other leg. You might notice a big difference. So we firstly peel the heel off the floor, then peel the ball of the foot off the floor. So you're now standing the majority of your weight on one leg. And that is bone loading. We are now bone loading, which means that we're holding the whole of our weight on one leg. Now, If you want to, you can just transfer that across, go from one leg to the other, use the chair if you need to for a little bit of balance. If you're using the chair, try not to, when I do chair classes, I say, if I can see the whites of your knuckles, that means you're gripping. So try not, if you can, not to grip the chair. So as I transfer the weight from one side to the other. Now, I'm going to transfer the weight, lift the toe up, and then just gently lift the foot off the floor, just a couple of inches. How does that feel on that standing leg? And then pop that leg down. See if you can do that. Actually, you are all very good. So we gently lift the leg. Now, you might find you do it on one leg and go, that was really easy. You do it on the other leg and it's harder. So if I'm doing that in a chair, then I'm just lifting one leg. So I keep the back up nice and tall, so I'm still getting that work. So I just lift one leg, lift the other. Good. Now place both feet down. Now we're going to see how it feels through the shoulders. So we're going to move the shoulders. So we're just going to circle the shoulders round. So we take a breath in, breathe out. Now see if you can breathe in through the nose, breathe out through the mouth. So we breathe in through the nose, breathe out through the mouth. As we're doing that, do you remember I talked about that muscle that you pull in? So you pull that muscle gently in. I want you to see if you can pull that muscle in as you're doing this. So when you're breathing out, pull that muscle in through here. Is your spine nice and long? Is your head on top of your shoulders? Shoulders over your hips. Hips directly over the arch of your foot. So if we're all in line, then that means when we stand on one leg and lift the leg, then we're balanced. Now when you lift the leg, you will feel that go on with your leg. You will feel the stabilizers are doing their job. They're doing a fantastic job at holding you in position. So if you feel wobbly, that's normal. Don't think, oh, that means I'm going to fall over. It doesn't. So place both feet down. Now we're going to just do a gentle rock. So I want you to just gently rock forward just a tiny bit and just rock onto the balls of the feet and then rock onto the heels. So yes, same in the chair. So in a chair, you just rock forward slightly and then rock back. So just gently rock forward and back. So that movement forward and back, we're using these muscles to hold and control that. So you're holding yourself in position. So we're not, I can't see anyone doing this. No one's doing that. You're all rocking your shoulders forward. So you're all doing that really well. So we rock forward and back. Good, lovely. And now we're going to circle one arm round. Be careful that you're not going to bash anyone. So circle one arm, circle the other. So keep the hips and shoulders facing forward, so I control the bit in the middle. Can you make sure that nothing moves through here as you move the arm? So you can do that in the chair as well. So you just circle the arm. Good. How does that feel through the shoulder? If your shoulder feels a bit clunky and you were in class with me, then I would be saying to make sure that you just work within the pain-free range of movement. So if that's there, then go to that movement. But the important thing is that you are moving. Because if we don't use the shoulder, then it starts to tighten up. Good, and just relax the arms down by your side. So if you have a seat down, but before you sit down, I want you to get your chair, and you're going to put your knees so that they touch the back of the chair. Then you're going to push your bottom out behind you, and I want you to sit down as slowly as you can, and when you sit down, we come down nice and gently. And then we're back in the chair, back in the room. Good, lovely. So that's just a couple of different things that we might do in class. We do some balance work, we do some coordination work. They're just a few things. I'm just going to get my sheet so that, because I've lost that on there, I'm just going to check, see what I had on here that I was going to talk about. The other thing that I wanted to just highlight for you is, if you go to a class, and I'm not just talking about a Pilates class, I'm talking about any type of class. If you go to a class and you'll think, actually, is this safe for me to be here? Is the instructor looking after me? I'm going to give you some tips to take away so that if you go to a class, if the instructor isn't doing these things or the environment isn't as it should be, you know that maybe you need to find someone else. So you should be working at your own pace that is suitable for you. So if you've done a class and that hasn't been the case, then it should be. An instructor should be aware of your medical conditions. So they should know whether you've got any heart conditions, high blood pressure, osteoporosis, knee replacements, any condition that you can think about, they should know whether you've got that, because I give people different exercises based on their conditions and based on what they're capable of doing. An explanation of what they're doing and why they're doing the exercise. Also, what I do is explain, when they're doing an exercise, how it's beneficial for their life. So for instance, when we do that rocking forward and back, and in class sometimes I get people to come up onto their toes, to wiggle the toes, to spread the toes out, because our feet are so important. When I walk, I go heel toe, and can you see that flexion there? Can you see that flexion on my ankle? Now often as we get older, our feet start to get tight, so we need to have that mobility on the ankle. We need to be able to move freely. So as we're moving, when you move around, if someone comes to my class and they've got an ankle injury, I know that maybe they can't stand on one leg. So I might get them to do it in a chair. I might get them to do something slightly different. And obviously explaining that, I explain it when you're walking. If you're walking up the road and we're just walking along chatting to your friend and you trip, we might stumble. We might trip and just fall. Now when I say fall, you might just fall to the side as in step. But remember I talked about the brain impulses going from the brain down to the muscle. If you've never done that, of lifting one foot up, you don't know your muscle hasn't learned how to stand on one leg. The muscles haven't learned, your brain hasn't learned that pattern of sending the impulses from the brain quickly to the muscle to go, oh, okay, right, I'm all right now, and off I go again. So that movement is so important. Also, different variations, I've talked about that the whole way through. Variations are so important because I know that some people can't lie on their back because they might have conditions that aren't comfortable for them. They might get dizzy, they might have vertigo. There are lots of different conditions that could potentially mean that someone can't lie on their back, or that they can't go onto all fours because they've had problems with their knees, or they need to do the class sitting in a chair. Correction of posture. If you go to a class and they never ever check your posture, or they never leave the front of the class, how do they know what your posture is doing? If they're standing at the front of the class having a good old workout, then how are they going to be able to check you and advise you and correct you? Because they're just having a workout themselves. I can honestly say that when I teach my classes, I never get a workout, because I would demonstrate the exercise and then I will move around to show, to check, to make sure if people are in correct positions. So I'll support them. I always make sure that if anyone's got any questions, if anyone's not sure of anything, I've got a master's in education, so I know that if one person in the room has got a question, there's going to be someone else in that room that's got exactly that same question. So I always say to people when they come, when they're new, I say, if you've got any questions, just ask it. And don't wait till the end, because it's too late, it's gone. And also, you should feel relaxed when you go to a class. So when you walk into the door, does that instructor introduce you to someone else in the room? Does that instructor introduce themselves? Or do they just stand at the front and have a jolly old time and enjoy the class themselves? And you'll just happen to be there just to make up the numbers. Hopefully that person actually cares about you. And that's where I'm so passionate about my Pilates and about teaching, and trying to get people to realise that when you go to an exercise class, you should be looked after. You are the most important person in that room to that instructor. They need to look after you, because I want my participants to live to a very long age and to be happy and healthy for the rest of their lives. That's my goal. That is my total goal for my teaching, and for them to enjoy coming along to class, and also to make friends in class, so I introduce them to other people in class, so then they're more likely to not feel that they're there on their own. So they're some of the things that I ask you to look out for when you go along to a class. I think I've pretty much, let me just check, I think I've covered all the different things that I wanted to. Yes, we have. I just want to mention to you, also I mentioned it briefly at the start, not only do I teach face-to-face, but also I teach online. When we went into lockdown, this is Matt, my lovely husband over here, this is Matt, And Matt, I'm so lucky, I'm the luckiest person in the world because Matt is an IT expert. So when we went into lockdown, instead of me going into meltdown thinking, how on earth am I going to take, I had all of my classes, we went, as you know, we went from one day being able to go to a class, being able to go out for a walk with friends, to not being able to do any of that. So Matt said, right, we're going online. And I went, gulp, okay, let's do that. So I then had to become an instructor that was teaching in front of a camera. That was, how long was it, 5 years ago, is it now? 5 years ago. We've been doing online classes all through that time. On through lockdown, I was teaching my clients that wanted to come along. They all came and joined me. I was doing Zoom classes with them. Now, I teach Zoom classes, so I've got 4 of my classes that I do. I do them as Zoom as well, so they're in the class with my other participants on Zoom. So I've got some people just come to Zoom. I've got some people that I've got 153 now of recordings. So I've got chair-based recordings, we've got weights classes, we've got band classes, relaxation classes, stretch classes. We've got a back health care toolkit, which whilst we were in lockdown, we actually developed and put together because we had more time in that time. So we put together a whole program just for back health. So we've got a back health care toolkit. And all of that's online. So now what happens, and literally you might have seen me texting someone when a little bit earlier. I was texting a lady who comes to my classes, she's in Australia. And she's gone to Australia on holiday to visit her family, and she is going to come to my Zoom class on Thursday morning and join me from Australia. And I've got another lady that I used to work with that is in Tasmania. And so I have people from lots of different places are able to come to classes if they don't feel comfortable or they're not able to come to class. Or they can do the online. So they can do the online classes. So I have some people that come to class, do a class with me face to face, and then they do the online as well. So that means that they do it twice a week, or 3 times a week, or as many times as they want to, because they can do it. We call it Joan Mackenzie's 24/7 because literally you can get up if you're an insomniac and you wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning. You can go and do a Pilates class, and we've got half-hour classes, 20-minute classes, full-hour classes, so you can do whatever you want to. So what we've tried to do over the years is try to have as much flexibility to the Pilates that we offer. So that's what we try to do. But what I want to just finish up with, and I'll take questions from you, what I want to finish up with is for you to have a look at how much exercise you do right now. Now, exercise can be anything from getting out of the chair, from doing a little bit of gardening, from walking up and down the road, to going and running a marathon if you wish. There's everything in between. The key thing is that you enjoy it. The key thing that it's doing you good, so you feel benefit from it, physically and mentally. And that's what I love about Pilates, and the most wonderful thing about Pilates is that it's physical and mental. So it improves your physical fitness and your mental fitness as well, or your mental health. And we all know, we all want to feel better, don't we? And I'm sure all of you during lockdown, it was a tough time, wasn't it? It was tough for everyone. And as we went through that and we're back out and we're now able to do things, but some people still have. I've got one lady that still comes to Zoom classes with me because she doesn't feel comfortable coming and being in a room of people. So you can do, we've made it as flexible as we can, and you do the exercise that you enjoy doing. And do it when it can be 10 minutes, or it can be half an hour, or it can be an hour. It doesn't matter. The key thing is you do something. Because the more exercise you do, then the longer you will stave off any problems, the longer you will live. So, has anyone got any questions?